Hi, welcome to Is Today the Day? My name is Andrew Duarte, and today I want to talk to you about my little friend. Her name was Fumi, somebody I met while I was in the church. And I think we're going to enjoy what I'm going to speak to you about. In 1906, Fumi's father came to America. Fumi's mother came later. They settled in Anaheim, California. On February 7th, 1919, they had a child, a little girl. But there was terrible tragedy. She was born with cerebral palsy. Little did anyone know, but God was going to use this little person for his glory. When things couldn't get any worse, Pearl Harbor was attacked by the Japanese. And President Roosevelt issued an executive order to relocate all Japanese immigrants to internment camps. But they were concentration camps. Why do I say that? They had machine guns in the watchtowers. So they were concentration camps. Fumi and her family were sent to Poston, Arizona, where temperatures reached 115 to 120 degrees. Fumi's favorite toy was a Shirley Temple doll, which she had to leave behind. Later about that doll. When Fumi was at that camp, she never left the barracks. In those 4 years, the reason why at that time, if anyone was born with a disform or health issue, it was shameful for the family. So Fumi would sit and stare out the window daily. When the war ended, Fumi and her family came back to California. But sad news would happen in Fumi's family. Her mother died, and then later on, her father passed away. Now, Fumi became a ward of the state. Remember, she looked like a little child with her small frame. The kids would tease her till one day a lady who was a nurse told them that she was a grown-up in a child's body, and they moved her to the grown-up department. Then Fumi was moved to Huntington Beach Convalescent Hospital. I found out later that she had been there for 40 years. When I met Fumi, I was an associate pastor for Calvary Chapel in Costa Mesa, California. The Lord called me in the early 80s. I was teaching Bible studies, pre-marriage classes, biblical counseling, funerals, hospital visits. People who went to the church there, they all knew who I was. But one day a lady from the church told me about this lady at the hospital. She and some of her friends were visiting someone from the church. I was asked to come and meet her. So I went. When I saw her, I couldn't believe how small she was. She was sitting in a wheelchair with a band around her head with a pointer attached to it. On her tray was letters in the alphabet. She would spell out words. That was her way of talking to you or communicating. When she first saw me, she put her head down like she was embarrassed. Later on, I found out that was showing respect. When I left, I said to myself, boy, she's got a lot of problems. She needs a lot of attention. And I couldn't do it. That's what I said to myself. Well, I would go and see her once a week just to stop in, say hi. One day she gave me a book about her life, and I went home and read it in one evening. So one day I was home putting a Bible study together when all of a sudden, before you go to the grocery store, you are talking to yourself in your mind what you're going to buy. Like, I'm going to get butter, milk, eggs, things like that. Just then, Jesus spoke to me and said, I want you to take care of Fumi for me, just like if I was there. You are going to take care of her until I take her home. I said to myself, where did that come from? I called the lady from church who told me about Fumi and told her what happened. She said that can't happen because she has those ladies from the church who have been taking care of her for years. I never told anyone. I just did what the Lord told me what to do. Well, Fumi and I grew very close. I remember one time I came to see her and she was sitting by the window looking out. When she saw me coming, she would get all excited. But I remember in her book how she sat next to the window in the barracks, always looking out, but never went anyplace. I asked her if she would like to go for a drive. She said yes, with that gleam in her eye. That's when it started. We went to a movie. She'd never been to one. We went to Universal Studio, Disneyland, Legoland, San Diego Zoo, Wild Animal Park, Santa Barbara, Big Bear Mountains. I took her to the ocean and put her feet in the water. Took her to see the flowers at the Rose Bowl. Took her on an airplane to San Francisco to see her friend from the church twice. I bought all the Shirley Temple movies for her, and she would laugh while she was watching the movies. You got to remember, she never had a life like that. She never did these things. The ladies from the church thought I was spoiling her. There was a couple who didn't like me taking her places. I would come and feed her 5 nights a week. On the weekends, I would come early in the morning and stay till after 9 p.m. I never told anyone that I was doing that. Remember, I was doing it for Jesus. At the hospital, a lot of people complain about the poor service they were getting for their loved ones. The 2 women from the church who never had nothing nice to say told me not to say anything because they didn't want the staff to take it out on Fumi. I just shook my head. Sorry. We don't live in a third world country. I remember those 2 ladies from the church came to visit Fumi one day. She was trying to tell them that she was in pain, but they were more concerned about telling the church members they visit Fumi. Fumi waited until I got there and told me her leg hurt. I got to the hospital to take an x-ray. She had a fractured leg again. Someone handled her rough again. I had it with the hospital from dropping her on the floor, stealing her costume jewelry, not feeding her. The list goes on and on. The state told me to keep good notes, which I did. And we finally took them to court and we won. Needless to say, these 2 women weren't happy. All they cared about was who's going to get the funds. The Lord had everything worked out. We had court-appointed person. I signed the check over to the appointed person. Fumi got a new wheelchair, clothes, new shoes, slippers. The one lady from the church was so nasty and evil, she took Fumi's new shoes, the slippers, home. When asked about it, she stated she didn't see them. I informed the court-appointed person what happened. She stated if not returned, we would make a police report. Well, guess what? The next day, they were back. The person who ran the hospital didn't care about the residents. When people complained about their loved ones, his response was, "What do you want me to do about it?" He was just there to get a paycheck. One church lady who claims to be a Christian went to the person who ran the hospital and asked him to have me banned from seeing Fumi. Well, that didn't work. Remember now, the courts were now involved. And if Fumi wanted me there is nothing they can do about it. Remember, Jesus is in control. They were coming against him, not me. Some of Fumi's friends were asking for money, claimed that they were coming there for years and brought things for her and spend their own money. They went to court when Fumi's case was being heard to see who got the money. I never went one day to Fumi's hearings. Even the man who ran the hospital was there to see if they would give him some of Fumi's funds. All greed. I still went every day to feed Fumi, and the weekends. I heard stories from people who claimed to be Christians, even stories from non-believers about Fumi's case. Jesus reassured me that I was doing it for him, not mankind. One of the ladies who introduced me to Fumi brought her a Shirley Temple doll. Remember, she had to leave her doll when she was young. Fumi asked to be buried with her doll, which we did. I sometimes forget Jesus puts us in different situations. When I was with Fumi in her room, people who had loved ones there, and when their time had come, family members would come to Fumi's room and ask me to come and pray with their loved ones. I got to lead some to the Lord. They knew I was from Calvary Chapel. In moments of crisis, judgment, terror, and need, the world turns to those who know their God. Jesus knows that I would never water down the gospel of Christ. Finally, the day came when her little body started to shut down. Jesus was going to take her home. I wasn't ready for that, but I knew it had to happen someday. When Jesus took Fumi home, she was 88 years old. She's been gone 14 years now. If she was alive today, she would have been 102 today. When the time came, Fumi was in a coma, still breathing. I remember her last days. I got off work and drove to the hospital. Some people were there and they left. I sat next to her and held her hand, which I have done many times. I sang Silent Night to her, and she took her last breath, and the angels came and took her home. I was happy for her, but I would miss her. After the funeral was over, I found out that Fumi left me everything, not the funds that went back to the state. But that's okay. It wasn't about money. I didn't know the court spoke to her before she died, and she told them she wanted me to have everything. That's how much she loved me. I don't think the church ladies were happy about that. Fumi was not forced to give me anything. This was done by a third party. I met Fumi in 1990. Time goes by fast. One day she's here, the next day she went home. She will never be alone again. I remember one Christmas Eve that they had to put her in the hospital because she had a urinary tract infection. Well, I went to the hospital with her. I held her hand on Christmas Eve while she was in the hospital bed. While other people were sharing a dinner or a church or opening Christmas presents and on Christmas Day with loved ones. Fumi never had anybody, but she had me. I know she ran into heaven when she met Jesus, and now she's with her dad and mom. The good thing is now I don't have to see those ladies from the church anymore. The Bible teaches to be peacemakers, not spiritual troublemakers. I waited until the coroner took Fumi's body out of the hospital, and I left. I never looked back. I remember Jesus said, "It is finished." And I said, "Yes, it is finished." And in my heart, Jesus said to me, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Fumi and you shall meet again." Well, all I can tell you, if you see somebody hurting, help them. Say a prayer with them. Don't become hard-hearted like some of the people I met through Fumi. I hope that they realize what they did was wrong and repent of their sins. Because if they didn't, they will not see Fumi again. Well, the Lord bless you and take care of you. If you want to write to me, you can write to me. Is Today the Day Ministry? Post Office Box 33997, Phoenix, Arizona 85067-9998. You think the Lord might come today? Is today the day? God bless.